Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good day, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next episode of No Dice, No Glory. Sponsored by our jobs that actually pay us money, we're coming to you not at all live from an abandoned arms factory deep under a mountain in West Virginia. We are proud to proffer to you the finest in wargaming coverage. Without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Once again, that is Sean Sarah giving us that great, rousing introduction. I know I said last time I need to call Sean, but still haven't. I promise I will. But we got a real special treat today, and I'm here with Michael from Bad Goblin Games. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, so Michael just reached out and was like, "I got this great game," and I'm like, I heard that before, and sent me the game, and I played it a few times, so I'm excited to talk about it. But Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what was that first game that got you on the path that brought us here today?
Sure. So, I guess a little bit about myself. I do live in Northeast Florida. A couple of kids, both in college, so we're kind of nearing that point in life where we may have a little bit more free time. Been
Yeah.
gaming for far too long at this point.
What is far too
Started
long?
started, I would say, when I was probably about 14, 15 years old. So we're talking 34, 35 years at this point. Um, the first game I think was for me uh, was probably old D&D, the old Red Box Dungeons and Dragons game.
Okay.
Um, a little bit of Warhammer after that, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. Whatever came along. A lot of board games, role playing games, miniature games. Just kind of kept going deeper and deeper into the hobby.
I'm glad you say deeper and deeper into the hole.
That too,
And
financially, yeah.
and starting at 15, technically, for some of the folks we've had on, that is late. Um, which is, we all start young. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna. So I brought this game into work, and it's called Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. And when I first looked at the book, I'm like, okay, man, the artwork's pretty cool. There's a twin-headed guy there. But as folks that listen to this show know, I'm real tough on rules writing, and the rules are really, really good. But before we get into the rule book, tell us about this game.
Sure. So we had done a previous game. It was really just a book and some tokens. We were just trying to get our foot into the hobby or into the business, I guess. Um, so that was kind of an easy game to do. We then started looking at what we can do next, and we kind of had our mind made up that we wanted to do a skirmish game. And for us, a skirmish game is each player is going to have 3 to 8 models on the table. Um, so we want something low model count, allow people to kind of get into the game quickly. There's not a whole lot of painting involved. You're not painting hundreds of figures or even dozens of figures. We looked at fantasy, we looked at sci-fi because we really like those genres, though they are, I think, pretty well represented in the gaming world as it is. So we started looking at post-apocalyptic stuff after that, and I'd say a large influence for us growing up in gaming was a couple role-playing games, Metamorphosis Alpha being one and Gamma World being the other. So if you're familiar with Gamma World, or anyone that's familiar with Gamma World will see a lot of influence in our game as far as the humans, the mutants, the robots, the plants, and so on. Uh, we didn't really want this to be a game that's very serious. There's a lot of serious games out there. We wanted something that you could just kind of throw on the table with some friends and have fun. you're not looking to build a list that is what's the term these days, min maxed, where you're trying to eke out every
Oh yeah.
point. So we just wanted something that you could throw on the table, with some friends, have some fun with it, whether you win, whether you lose. I mean, I lose 95% of the games I play, so that winning is obviously not a big deal for me.
Oh,
Uh,
me too.
yeah, and so that's really kind of how it came about. We wanted a setting and a name that would convey the theme of the game, that would convey that it's not very serious, and that's how the whole Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse name came about. Originally, we just had that called Warlords of the Apocalypse, but that it doesn't tell you. I mean, it tells you what the game is to a degree, but it doesn't give you that added sense that this is a bit of a bizarre game, a game that's a bit beer and pretzels is the popular term these days. So that's kind of where the name and the
You
theme
had me.
of the game came about.
You had me at Trailer Park is when you
Yeah.
first contacted me because I'm like, okay, you know, um, but let's go into the smaller skirmish games. I think you know the guys from Firelock, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. We see him and talk to him often. Rufus
Yeah,
and Kai, who did Blood and Valor and
yeah,
Blood and Bayonets, they're actually the ones who paint our miniatures for us. So,
yeah. Good painters. I'm actually proofreading Blood and Bayonets today, but Mike and I were talking about how the meta within our community really went for these large armies that you had to buy. And, I'm not going
mhm.
to throw Games Workshop under the bus, but, the bus is coming. And lately, what we've seen is like all of these games now with small model count. Um, Wasteland Warfare from, forgot the name of the show, Fallout,
Yeah.
and Star Wars Shatterpoint, which, all right, I'll admit something to you, but you got to keep this a secret. I bought into today. I figured it's Father's Day coming up. My son just graduated high school. I think I did okay. Plus, they're not going to get me anything I can use my family. But yeah, 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 right. The the smaller skirmish games, even from playing Bolt Action on Sunday, there's something about them I really like. And even with Firelock's latest release, low model count. I think
Yeah.
that's going to start becoming a huge meta. Um, it's almost like Star Wars X-wing. You buy 3 or 4 ships, you buy the starter kit, and that's it. You can play for years. And I think this is like the next evolution. You have to put the models together and paint them. And I, I kind of like how you went there with this. And who sculpts your models? Because they're great models.
Yeah. So it's a guy named Bill, and we kind of ran across him a few years ago. Um, he's in our Discord. We have a Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse Discord, so he's in there, and we talk pretty often. And he interacts with other people in the Discord, but
Yeah.
and he's good because we don't necessarily have to give him the full details of what we're looking for. He's able to kind of take an idea sometimes and just run with it.
Yeah.
And he has some good military experience, so there are often times, especially in a game like this, where there's obviously guns and what have you involved, that he's able to suggest things that we wouldn't think of. So he's good. He's easy to work with. We're very happy with everything, and we have a lot more models planned. It's just a matter of getting to them, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Because production's all screwed up now. Um, it's always slow. It seems to be slower. The other one
yeah,
too is it's not historical, and
right, right,
oh, the canteen's on the wrong side of the British soldier. Um, it's you don't have what we used to call the stitch Nazis
hmm
that you
the
have in
button counting,
games. The what? The button
the button
counting.
button counting, yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
I mean, it's. I actually have seen fights on threads about, no, these models are wrong. Go with these; they're more correct. And I'm like, it's a game, guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's they're kind of interesting. Yeah, you hit on a lot of tropes and memes in this book, which I kind of like. So I think, and I think I told you that the rules are really clear. I dig some of the, they're not really puns, but like hidden humor you have, like Kill Karen.
Yeah.
And then the woman with the roller pin. What's it? Granny, right?
Granny. Yep. Yep.
That's hilarious. Like
Yeah, she's
it,
got a
it,
Thompson submachine gun and a rolling pin. So,
yeah, and a with the drum magazine, and
yep.
the models are just really kind of cool. Yeah, it's I didn't paint them yet, by the way. I need to, because I wanted to get it on the table right away. The other cool thing, and this was one of the other cool things, the starter kit comes with 2 trailers and a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Yeah, we when we originally were working on this game, we weren't planning to do miniatures at all, though we just kind of realized there's just a gap in what's available out there. Like you can obviously find robots and humans and mutants, but finding the plants and to a lesser degree the animals was just a real challenge. So we figured that we really needed to do some miniatures, and then after that the subject of terrain came up, and that's where we started putting out our own terrain. So the trailers is it's a big seller for us, and not just even for our game. Just we went to Historicon last year, and people that play various zombie games were just snatching them up just for those games, right?
It's for
Because
Historicon
they're
last year. I didn't know
oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
I would
yep,
have
and we'll
I
be
would have
there.
gotten this then. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there this year too, next month. So we'll be there.
I'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah, the game's really kind of slick. I mean, I think we were playing it on a 2x2, 2x2 uh, like map, or
yeah,
one of the things, which I think is what you're supposed to play the. No, it's 3x3 surface, but we just wanted to kind of see how the mechanics work. So we played on a
right.
2x2, and it is just it's a fun game. I also like the fact that the game is, and this is heresy, I know, in our community, has some really great cards with the mutations on them. And just reading through some of them, first of all, some of the mutations are not good.
Yes.
But
Yep.
going through it, it was like, and what game I was thinking of was Super Fights. Some of the powers that the characters in Super Fights have, which is a great game.
Hmm.
But then going through the just Apocalypse now, the Apocalypse cards, you have stuff
Yep.
like Parkour, Running Man, Ain't Got Time to Bleed, um, Come at
Yeah,
Me, Bro.
few references in there. So.
Yeah, Hold My Beer is one of them. And I'm going to ask you, as you guys were putting this game together, how much fun was it? Because it's not fun most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely fun, right? And I think there's like two different parts to doing game design, and one is the actual development where you're sitting down and you're writing out the rules. You're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and same thing with the cards. Like you're trying to develop all these powers, mutations, and the morphologies and mechanisms. And I guess one saving thing for us is we weren't really all that concerned about game balance. Like this is not a game where again you're trying to min max everything. And so
Yeah.
when you're looking at those power cards, we had no desire to make sure every card had a similar value to every other card in there. Some are clearly better than others. Um, some of the bad cards are clearly worse than others. Some are living like a gray area. So we were fortunate in that aspect that we just did not care about balancing those. That's not the point of this game whatsoever. Um, so
Which, go ahead.
developing all the rules and doing all the writing, that can get a little tedious sometimes. But when you actually get to sit down at the table and play it, then we start demoing it at running demos at conventions, and just seeing even the feedback, even when the feedback isn't what you want to hear sometimes, it still helps you make a better game. So it was definitely fun. I mean, there's definitely challenges anytime you're doing something like this. Though I would say um, it's been a lot of fun just to see people's reaction to the name, to the theme, and just playing the game.
So what grabs people as they walk by? The name, or wait, those are trailer parks down there.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit of both. So definitely the name, because we have like a little stand stood up by our table when we're running a demo or if we're hosting a game somewhere. We have like a little stand stood up with the game logo on there, and we have a ton of people just stop by. They see the logo, they see the name, and then they start taking a closer look at the table. When you go to something like Historicon, there are some really fabulous looking tables there, and
Yeah.
you can really get kind of lost in just everything kind of becomes a blur to a degree when it comes to the tables. At least it does for me. So, but we have a ton of people that stop by. They see that name, they see the logo, and that prompts them to stop and look at the game, right? And yeah, they notice the trailers. If we're running something like our flamingo scenario, they see flamingos on the table. So we always try to have something on there that grabs people.
Which I find interesting because Historicon is not your real demographic. I mean, you
Nope.
got a lot of they're historical gamers that have the worst case of OCD concerning stuff. I mean, we were talking about button counters where have you been to like Adepticon where this game will just pull people in because that's kind of almost your sweet spot.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We had some presence at the last Adepticon. We didn't really have our own booth set up there. We have a friend um, uh, who runs a game store, and he allowed us to set up some space in his booth. So we did have a presence, though it wasn't you weren't you wouldn't notice this, I don't think. Like if you were there and you're walking by, you probably you wouldn't. There was nothing there to really draw you in, if that makes sense. Uh, at Historicon, we've actually had really good luck there. So our other game is a historicals based game, so we do have some
What's your other game?
Ages of Conflict. It's a big
Okay.
battle game. It's one of those games where you do need lots of figures, right? Um,
Okay.
but we've actually done really well with Trailer Park there. Every time, so for example, last year we had 3 games scheduled. Right, we had a demo in our demo booth, but we also had 3 games scheduled. We end up running, I think, 2 or 3 extra games because every time we do this at a convention, we have people. The game fills up quick. Like our sessions for Historicon this year filled up like the first or second day. So we always have people coming by asking us if we can run more. So we always end up running more than what we had scheduled. So even at Historicon, where you think that maybe it wouldn't be the right audience, we actually do pretty well there.
Yeah, because I mean, because the rules are tight, it's fun. Not everybody wants to play that heavy game and pull out dozens of models. Um, the other thing that's about, when folks go, well, what's so cool about miniatures? I would pull this game out before I would pull out anything historical because it, it's 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 kind of fun. It's a really interesting theme, and it's one that I always get asked, "What are you playing now?" And I'm like, "Well, if you want to come by for a demo of this, you know, trailer park game," and it sounds like something I really want to check out. So I know a lot of people here are really starting to dig it because, like, you had me at Trailer Park. It just is because people know it's going to be fun and funny and
Yeah, right.
a light game. And then, I go, yeah, you only need like 4 models per side. And it's like, what scale is it? I go, I don't even know. It's like 28 heroic, if I would say anything.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And
Well,
so like
have
if
a
you
low model count. I mean, having that low model count's important for us. Just in this hobby, if we want the hobby to grow and to survive, you
yeah.
can't. Kids can't. I mean, I remember what it was like when I was a kid, and if I could get a $5 figure, I was happy, right? If I could get $5 and go to the store and get a new miniature, I was happy. So, we can't continue to put out games that just have a price barrier. So we have to we have to make it affordable for people, and that means easier to get into.
And you don't even have to paint them too. And I think that is,
Yeah.
everybody does know that if the better painted they are, the better they roll in a game. I mean, everybody
Oh,
knows that.
absolutely.
But yeah, of course. But just bringing a low model count game, and I remember last year at at the Nova Open, which is coming up in a couple of months, which is
Hmm.
like a mini Adepticon. The folks that were doing Fallout, Wasteland Warfare, the real low model count game, they were right across from us. I was doing Warlord demos, and I couldn't even get in there to talk to them because the TV series just came out. It's something different, and that's the audience that likes stuff like that. I look at this game as being kind of a bridge between the two communities, and all you got to do is paint 8 models, and I think you're good to go. And I really kind of enjoyed it. So as you guys were building this game, and then from reading the rule book, and actually whoever did your art, I kind of really dig too. By the way,
Yeah, we wanted an older school look to the art.
yeah.
So if you go on, like the Errol's Otis kind of art with the old D&D. If you look at the old D&D, the
Hmm.
old Gamma World art, that's kind of what we were going for.
Yeah, I tell you, when I saw the guy with 2 heads, I really was like, yeah, it's like that. For some reason, that looks familiar. It's like that glitchy 70s style art that
Yeah.
guys like me remember because I remember most of the 70s. I, I really kind of, yeah, it's really kind of cool. So as you guys were putting this together and how the game just flows, what was the main driver? Like, hey, we're going to give the players an experience. Nobody ever thinks like that because you're a player, you're a gamer too. Like, what was that driving factor to make the game come out like it is?
I think just because of the tone and theme of the game, we didn't want a game that was really bogged down. So we wanted the combat and the overall flow of the game to be pretty quick. Um, there there definitely need to be a certain element of deadliness to it.
Hmm.
So we didn't want figures running around feeling invincible. Like we want, cover really matters in the game. So it's um, important to have cover on the table. But I'd say the main focus for us was just keeping the game uh, where it felt like it was moving along, where it felt like you weren't getting bogged down and roll after roll after roll. Like we didn't want to hit the what is it? Roll to hit, roll to wound, roll to save. And we went through probably a half dozen iterations of combat mechanics before we kind of settled in on on what we have now. But I think the driving force for us was just keeping things where the game was moving along. Um, was probably the was probably the fastest. I mean, because we don't want, if we're running this at a convention, we're running this at a store for people. The quickest way to lose somebody is if it takes one person 20 minutes to resolve something, right? So it need to be quick. So that was our main focus.
Yeah, it does play quick. I was like trying to figure out how many times I had to kept going back to the book. It was a couple the first time, but I kind of knew where to
Yeah,
find stuff because it's laid out that well. It's a D10 system, which a lot of people like. I happen to like it. I mean, more dice the merrier. The other one is the tokens. A lot of games. Okay, well, it's you're up to your own on you're out of luck for the tokens, but I really like how the tokens really add to the game aesthetic as well. And
yeah. We want some good colorful tokens in there. Um, we actually cut all we actually do cut all the tokens ourselves, so it helps us save some costs from a manufacturing perspective. So we cut all the tokens ourselves, and uh, kind of going back to an earlier question of what was a challenge. That was a challenge because we have to clean all those tokens ourselves and count all those tokens ourselves. So that was
yeah,
a little bit of a challenge, but it helps us save some costs. Uh, but we want some nice colorful tokens in there.
yeah, it's one of those games where if I go to a store, and sadly I didn't in the play test, we played upstairs, and we don't get that much foot traffic. And it's once I paint the miniatures, I do want to take it to local stores because it kind of grabs people in. Like, wait, and is that a dumpster fire? Yeah, it kind of is, and which I thought was hilarious because the light at the end of the tunnel is often a dumpster fire, and
Yeah.
it's. Did you think of that? Who thought of the dumpster fire?
No, somebody else in our group thought of that. I mainly handle the rules. That's kind of my main area of responsibility. So it's someone else who definitely. There's a couple of guys who kind of collaborate on terrain, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is just suggestions from people who play. Um, they'll come up to us and say, "Hey, it'd be really cool if you guys had this." And we have an STL guy. So we have one guy who does the miniatures, another guy who kind of does the terrain. So somebody comes up and says, "Hey, it'd be really cool if you could have this in the game." So we'll go out, we'll make it. Uh, the dumpster fire is interesting because we actually had requests because that came out at like a 28 millimeter scale. Then we had Gaslands people coming up to us and saying, "Hey, can you offer this in 20 millimeter so we can put it in our
Ooh.
Gasland games?" So that's one of the pieces that we actually scaled down. We still have the 28, but we also sell in 20 for Gaslands for people because we have Gaslands people wanting it. They wanted that light up, that light up terrain on their board.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Matter of fact, I'm gonna hit the website after this and pick up a bunch more. We're gonna use them at work because sometimes work's a dumpster fire. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. So most of the time, I think the first time it took me a little over an hour to knock the game out. The
hmm
other times, about 45 minutes. Is that normal, or did we get a lot wrong here?
No, I'd say it's about right. If you have two people, then you're probably looking at 45 minutes to an hour. Uh, and so just a little bit of context. This game, I think, like most other miniature games, was started as a 1v1, so two-player game. Though every demo we run, whether it's a store or convention, we're running with like four players. Um, I think I'm not sure if you tried more than two yet. So
Not yet.
this this seems to be one of those games that, and that was kind of a happy accident, but it just seems that this is one of those games where if you have three or four people playing, and it's all not on a team, so they're all for themselves, right? Um, it actually seems to play. It won't play faster because you have more people, there's more models, there's more turns. So it's not going to. The game will take a little bit longer to get done, though. There's an added element of chaos that comes with that just I think makes the game even more fun.
Which
Uh,
I find interesting, and that is a feature, not a bug, in my opinion, because
oh yeah, yeah,
with miniature games, it is there's so few out there that can play with more than two players that actually fit into playing with more than two. You can't really do it with like bolt action, flames. There's like a million games you cannot do that with. This one, I was thinking because in some of the examples you do have, I think multiplayer missions or scenarios that it
Yeah.
seems. And then there's one where Karen's a bot, and well, Karen is a bot, and I just thought that was interesting. Like, I wonder if this could play solo. Hmm. And I really so few games do that, and
Yeah.
I think that kind of add to the fun because it's like, hey, what are we gonna play? Well, it can't be a miniatures game. So few games are designed for multiple players. This one most certainly can, and that was something I was looking to try. But now I'm definitely going to go try it because it, it's like a unicorn. You just don't see that. As you guys were
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it is. As you guys were developing it, you play a lot of games.
Hmm.
Is there something that again, and you could call it out. It's Dunnigan rule. You can borrow. Uh, was there any games that really influenced you, and any games you so wanted to stay away from recreating?
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything in on the miniature side that really influenced us. It- it- from a thematic perspective, Gamma World was a huge influence on us.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gamma World though. If you're
I
if you're
am.
f- if you're fam- yeah, so you probably recognize a lot of the elements in there, just
Mhm.
just from a thematic perspective. There wasn't, I don't really think that there was much in the way of influences from miniature games. Subconsciously, there may have been, because I mean we play so many and things creep in. Though I don't think at any point as we were sitting down did any one game really come in. I think there were times when like we were trying to validate, does this rule really make sense? And there may have been discussions. Well, yeah, well all these other games do it, so there may have been stuff like that. Though I don't think there was like a particular miniature game that really influenced us, if that makes sense.
Well, then the opposite. Was there any that you just really wanted to stay away from? You don't have to mention their names, for the four people
Yeah,
that listen.
yeah, I don't know because we sat down with pretty well intent of what we wanted this game to be. Again, we talked about it being fast, quick to resolve things. We wanted to stay away from um, min maxing. Like, so you're gonna make lists. You're gonna make your little faction, your little roster. Though um, we didn't. There's a lot of games out there where you're trying to squeeze every point that you can, um, and that's not necessarily what this is. Because I mean, really, because you could take I- if you're making a mutant, for example, and you're going to get one beneficial. Well, I guess a point about this is the powers that you receive. So if you're making a mutant, the specific mutation that you receive is random. You're not
Yeah.
going through the deck and picking out a specific one. So you're going to make this mutant. You might make him or her for a specific purpose, but then you might draw a random power that just goes against everything you just created, right? So that was intentional because we wanted to try to minimize the whole min maxing thing. Um, I mean, again, subconsciously, I think there probably was because we've played a lot of games, and there's certain things that we just we just didn't like. So I think there was probably something in there subconsciously, but I don't think that at any point do we ever look at a specific game and say we don't want to do that. So,
Yeah, I mean, what I tell game designers is every game that you will start to create has the DNA of every game you ever played in it, good or bad.
yeah,
And it's just having that mindset when it comes to design. And some of the designs I worked on, it's like Well, yeah, I play tested this. It works smoother in this game. And they, we played that game, and I just didn't realize we repeated that. I go,
Hmm.
well, check it out again because it really kind of works. And just like looking at, games we play, and then I always have the problem where I play one game and I forget the rules, and I'm really playing another, which with all the Firelock games I've played, like I still remember because I worked with Rufus on Blood and Valor, and the guy's like, "What? We're playing Blood and Valor. Why'd you just do that?" I go, "It's in the rules." No, it's in the rules of the other game, and
Yeah.
it's because all the games share that common DNA that
Yep.
it's like, yeah. So I got to unlearn a game, which is what I liked about this. It's kind of refreshing that it doesn't creep into something else. And I really like the randomness of especially the mutants because just like I believe in Gamma World, you rolled and you had to live with what you rolled.
Yeah, yeah. Again, and that being a major influence for us, that was important for us. We wanted kind of that older school approach to things. And yeah, you might um, again, the powers are kind of divided into good and bad, and some of the good are better than others. Some of the bad are worse than others. Some of the bad, if you use them in the proper way, could actually be beneficial to you. It just depends on how you play it. But you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know until you draw that card. So all those plans you may have had could be could be shot to to some extent if you draw the wrong card.
Which
But
I kind of dig, and I'll tell you why. So you go, you generate your models really just before game time, and it's none of that. All right, so I'm going to call people out that I know, but it's fine. Everybody knows I'm an asshole. Um, so going into this bolt action tournament, a guy I work with hitting me with these lists, and he doesn't realize my answers are very simple. Like, what do you think you're going to enjoy more? You know, because you have these people, and it's a marketing technique too. If you're not playing the game, you're making lists for the game,
yeah,
and it keeps your head in the game. It makes you buy more, but like I call it a three-legged stool. If you play one of the mass games that everybody plays, the only thing you know is your list. The other two things that I think are just as important, if not more, you don't know who you're going to play against and their list, and you don't know the terrain that you're going to be
right.
playing on. And it's like, and that's where I think you get into that slippery slope of min maxing because a lot of min maxing, sure. You want to get a big army out there that can do everything. Um, but a lot of it, it's I think as we go down this path, that's how it happens. Um, but I think just like pulling out the cards just before, okay, great, huh? How do I use this? And there's a few times I'm like, yeah, it's probably gonna be pretty quick. I'm gonna lose. Not really. Not really. If you just sit there and think of the game you're playing, that it just really kind of works. The the other thing is I like that randomness of not knowing how this is going to turn out and kind of exploring what the cards are. Um, I really dig that. What has been the reaction? What have other people liked? Because I'm not trustworthy.
Yeah, so I think the cards are pretty popular. I think the random aspect is pretty popular. The you know, it's a little bit of anticipation. I think that's kind of one reason we did the card draw. And if you and again, the cards aren't. I should point out the cards aren't a requirement for the game. We
No.
do have all these powers in the book, though the just having the cards there makes it a little more convenient, just sitting in front of you. Um, though I think anytime you have it's almost like even when you're playing it just like a game of poker or spades or something, that anticipation of you're about to draw a card, you get that 1 second moment of anticipation. What is it? What am I going to draw here? And
And the oh shit moment right after.
Yeah, yes. So there's some of that in there, right? Because I think we're always trying to build these little moments of friction in the game, moments of anticipation. So you've got that deck of power sitting in front of you, and you're going to draw it in, you just that split moment of anticipation. I think that's been really well received. The Apocalypse cards, which they were a feature very early in the game, so they've kind of gone beyond what we originally had scoped. Originally, they kind of appeared as this very bland +1, -1 kind of things, but if as you've looked through them, you've seen there's some pretty crazy cards in there. Um, those we've had one or two people that don't like the Apocalypse cards in the game, just because of like there's one of the cards in there, like if I hit you and I get a really good hit, if I have the right card, I can basically negate that entire hit. Now that card only appears one time in the deck, so there's 50 cards, and that card only appears one time. But if I happen to have it in my hand and I play it, um, then we've have seen it cause an issue. Like some people don't like that. So one thing we always try to we kind of give a preamble to this game when we sit down at the demo to run a demo at a convention is we say, look, this is the kind of game that if uh, if you can't handle, I'm trying to think of the right words here, if you can't handle a little bit of getting somebody putting something over on you in a game, then this maybe isn't the best game for you, because definitely some of those Apocalypse cards do that. And kind of going back to what I said earlier, where this game plays really well with 3 or 4 players, you don't have to be involved in a situation to play a card in those situations. So if you have 4 people playing and let's say somebody's attacking you, somebody who's not involved in that combat can play a card to influence it, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, and now I can't wait to try it. You know, maybe even this weekend if I'm not busy painting. So there was a couple of the cards I did want to ask about. So when I saw the card, it's a leanie. I thought of Pass the Pigs. I don't know if you've ever played that,
I have
but
not.
yeah, it's just you. Pigs are like dice. You roll them, and then they have the leaning double jowler. Um, I'm all out of bubble gum. Really kind of cracked me up. Um, and I was trying to think of what movie that was from, and I couldn't. Some I
Uh,
couldn't get.
they live.
That that's right. Okay. But wait, there's more. I really kind of like that. Um, but I didn't get your shoes are tied.
Um, I don't think the phrase came from anywhere particular. That's just what we decided to call the card. So that one, I don't think for that one there's a callback to anything in particular.
What's one that I didn't mention that kind of has a story behind it, or if none of them do, none of them do.
Maybe the whole my beer to a degree. So
I love to hold my beer. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not a drinker, though we have
I'm not
plenty of
either.
people in our group who like to kind of hit the local breweries and what have you. So that was they kind of made that card up and it kind of made its way into the game and it's been pretty well received. You'll see people use it in maybe desperation situations like, well, I don't have anything else to lose. Let me play this card, and they'll
Hold
kind
my
of
beer.
go, yeah, they'll go all in on it. And it's definitely backfired sometimes.
Yeah. So
It's
I'll read it
and we've
out. It is play before a roll or a guts check. Roll 1 to 5 extra d10 separately from the rest of the pool, or use different colored dice. Success counts as normal. You receive a winded token for each failure. So it's kind of an interesting card. The thing I did like about the cards is it can ruin the best laid plans of mice and men.
oh yeah,
Um,
yep.
because it's like, okay, I don't know what you have in your hand, and I started to realize, I think we started to play, like, yep, I love games that like, I should have done this. Um, the randomness that this game has, once again, I don't know if this was something you guys wanted to put in. It gets you to really kind of explore all the mechanics of the game a little bit more. because you
Yeah.
can't do the same old thing all the time, especially with the randomness of generation and the randomness of the apocalypse cards. It's like, okay, and it's almost like each turn, it's its own little thing, as well as the game in total. And I just thought that was pretty neat because after I play a game, I'm like, how soon do I want to get it back on the table to play it?
Right.
And to me, it's like, you know, I wonder how that would have turned out if I would have drawn different mutation cards or if I would have played my cards differently. And one thing, and once again, I don't know if this was a plan, um, the games after the first, they played so differently. And I would say this is why, but I really can't point to one thing that made every game a totally different experience. Is that something you guys saw when you were designing this?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Because and definitely the randomness of the powers definitely lends itself to that. The apocalypse cards, you're going to have a deck of 50 of those sitting in front of you, but you're only going to have 5 in your hand at any one time, and you have no control. Well, there is one card in that deck that allows you to kind of go through the discards to draw whatever
Dump,
card you want. But other than that, you
dumpster
have,
diving.
yeah, dumpster diving. Other than that, you have no control. So there's a bit of luck. There's a bit of luck to that. And some of those cards repeat. So there's 50 cards in that deck, and the more mundane cards are going to appear like twice. But the really powerful cards are only going to appear one time in there. Uh, and if you just happen to have there are times when if you have one of your gang members that's like on the verge of death and you have just the right card, you play it. They're like, they're like right back. It's like they're right back to full health almost, maybe in some situations. Um, so there's a, I think the randomness, there's a bit of a luck element to having the right cards in your hand. Knowing how to play the cards, we always tell people that those cards are meant to be played. Just you're not intended to hold on to them. There might be a couple cards you'll hold on to for just the right occasion. Though otherwise, just play them. Like the more often the cards are played, the more fun the game seems to be. If that makes sense. So
It
just
it is. Yeah, because it's a when I, what you're trying to do, and basically what we've talked about is kind of, it seems like in the design of this game, gaming as well as gamers. And
yeah,
you really try to break some of the idiosyncrasies that we have in our hobby. Um, I started flopping the cards down as fast as possible. Why?
yeah,
Why not? And
yep,
it's like, I think I only played one person twice. And the second game, it just turned out it was just a lot of fun. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I know, it's holding on to cards is kind of ridiculous because you wait for that golden BB moment and it may never happen. Use it
yeah,
now because the game goes so fast that I really kind of enjoyed that. I mean, as soon as I read the rules, I think after you said, "Hey, did you get it?" I go, "Yeah, but I wanted to play it." We're one of the few podcasts that we actually play the games if they're out, at least once or a couple of times because we don't want to sound like idiots. Well, we sound like idiots anyway, but
yeah. We all do.
y- yeah, some of us try harder. But the game just kind of moves, and all we did was just swap models, drew our mutations, bam, let's go because it's a game without a lot of hangups, and it's a game that I'll say this: it dares you to have fun
Yeah.
and just to enjoy the moment as opposed to trying to win the game. I can't tell you if I won any of the games at this point. Because it just wasn't that important, but it was fun not winning.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted. I mean, that was one of our. You can play a game and lose and have a miserable experience, or you can play a game and lose and have fun. So, you know, and we know, we know how our game group is. Our group has been gaming together for decades at this point, and and I play with other people, and I think for the most part, if you get a group of people together that play games on a regular basis with each other, you see a lot of interactions at the table that don't necessarily have anything to do with the game or anything like that. But that's one of the reasons. That's one of the driving forces behind those apocalypse cards was to kind of keep that interaction going between people. Um,
Yeah,
to
you
kind of
really
keep.
have to pay attention when your opponent is going in this game.
Yeah. Um,
And it's like this past weekend, the guy's like, "Hey, I'm just going to move my commander to here." Fine, go to the I gotta go to the bathroom, right? You can't do that in this game because you don't know if like, wait, let me trigger this, let me do that. And to me, it's like, okay, I like that, but look, the game doesn't last that long. I can wait to go to the bathroom or just go right there, which
yeah.
gamers sometimes do. And it's not a beautiful thing, but
No, it's not.
I enjoyed it. So looking at the game, first of all, if you're out there, pick it up. And before we sign off, we're gonna tell you where to get it. And I tell you what, I am gonna go and bring this out to stores to kind of spread it. And I don't do that like, oh well, thanks. Now I do that because yeah. Look, another secret. Don't tell anybody. If I get other people into this, I'll always have people to play against.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
which which to me is like, and the other one is with a lot of folks I play with all the time that I know they'll dig it. The other thing is I want to get this in front of people that are over competitive serious players because I often claim that how are you enjoying this? And there's so many people that have such a passion in our community, and there are brothers and sisters in arms. But I often have said to people I've played, "Are you really enjoying this?" Yeah, I guess so. If I could win more, which means no, that they aren't enjoying it. But
No. They're enjoying
I
the victor. They're not enjoying the game.
right, and it's like sometimes it's like looking at a piece of art. Yeah, okay, fine, I saw it. Just enjoy the moment, and it's kind of why I thought this is different, this is interesting, but it really provides a different experience than a lot of other games I play. And this is something like I can pull out with really non-miniature gamers. I think they get it. Um, I didn't pick up on so much of the Gamma World stuff because I've read the rules. Not a big RPG guy. I know it's my downfall in life. Um, I did recognize some of it, like, okay, yeah, this is, and I don't remember what other game I was thinking about during that time, but it's another post. Wasteland Warfare, which is a
Yeah.
board game, which is fun. Have you played that game?
I have not. No, I have not.
Yeah, it's a board game, and I met at Gen Con, I met the guy that designed it, and we interviewed him, and he was out of breath just trying to give a sales pitch. I go, dude, I already bought the game. Um, but like, it seems like, yeah, they had fun making that game, and just watching people play to me is, are they enjoying it or they're just, passing the time? This is one of those stop and smell the roses type of experiences, which, I kind of was like, maybe I forget to sometimes enjoy it. So look, I'm a fan. So I always got to ask, what's next with this game?
Yeah. So we
After we
do
get it
have some
popular,
material. What's that again?
after we get it popular,
Yeah. Yeah. So
because
so that's our next step. We do have it in some stores, and we're trying to. We are at some of the major conventions, and none of this. We're not. This is not like a full time gig for any of us. So
yeah,
unfortunately, it's a little bit slower going for us to kind of get word out. That's why it's nice to be able to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
I think for the future of the game, we do have some material that we just couldn't. We learned from a mistake from our first game, in that with our first game we made, we had a hard time knowing when to stop adding things, and that caused some issues. So with this one, we definitely said, okay, this is our page count, this is our timeline, and if and we're not going to stretch those things out to add more stuff. So we do have some additional stuff that's going to come along at some point. We have some vehicle rules that we use. We have some campaign rules. We have rules for animal packs, so you can control, like, you know, not feral, but packs of cats and dogs. We have drones, remote controlled, vehicles. So those are all rules that we're going to have out at some point. We do have more miniatures coming out. And an important point here is, like, no one's required to use our miniatures. We'd love it if everyone did, but it's not a requirement. There's, but we do
Well,
have,
can I make it a requirement? Because the miniatures are great.
yeah. But we
Yeah.
do have, there's probably 40 more miniatures we have planned. It's just a matter of being able to get them done. We do have the next set that should be releasing very soon. It's more animals, but they're like apex predator animals. So we have like um, a dire wolf. We have a great white shark in there. There's a woolly
A
mammoth
land
with like
shark.
a land shark. Yep, yep. Uh, a woolly mammoth, like a blaster, on his back. So we have like 8 of those animal big, and these are bigger models, for the most part, just because they're bigger creatures. So that's the probably the very next thing. But hopefully you're going to see a steady stream of miniatures coming out, and um, I think once we can kind of catch our breath from our initial release here, uh, we're going to start working on that supplement some more. We have a program we call our Horde program, which is basically just people who want to help us test out rules and spread the game, what have you. They kind of get early access to that. So anyone who's like a Horde member will get early access to those new rules, and they'll play them, tell us what works, what stinks, that kind of thing. So, but that's what's next for us.
I'm anything that's coming out for this game, I'm buying. Because you guys sent me the initial kit, which has everything you really need for the game in one box, which is another thing I dig. Um, because I really want to get into a light game like this.
Mhm.
It's not light. It's almost like I just insulted it, but it's
No, I haven't.
it's fun. It's
Yeah.
just fun, and I started to realize, I play these things for fun. And thank you for giving me my sanity back. Um, and I'm just gonna get some dumpster fires and give them out at work as prizes. Um, yeah, because I'm strange, but no, I mean, to me,
Well, yeah,
the
we
game.
have people come by our booth at some of our
Yeah,
conventions, and they buy them just for that purpose. They buy a dumpster fire and they just want to sit it on their desk.
yeah, I know I'm gonna
Uh,
buy some flamingos. So the only thing is, are you gonna put a tornado in the game?
so we do have environmental effects as part of that supplement,
Yeah,
and tornadoes and trailer parks kind of go together. So that's we just
yeah,
got to
they
figure
do.
out how it's going to work. So,
I'm
but
fascinated by meteorology, and I got to be honest with you, it's a scientific fact. They are drawn through trailer parks.
yeah, yep,
Yeah. I mean, don't
yeah.
quote me on it, but it's but it really is. And you know, I'm a fan of it, and it just hits that sweet spot, and it's one of those where, like, I do want to take this, like I said before, and have ultra competitive gamers play this, because you realize what you love about the hobby once again, which not a lot can do that. So you guys really kind of hit it. So you said other folks kind of helped you out with this. You want to give them some shout outs or?
So the here in town, the main group we play with is the Jacksonville Garrison. Um,
Okay.
so there's quite a few of us, and we kind of get together just about every Friday night. And we're playing something. So they definitely helped out a lot with this. We have quite a few people who would play the game when we were going to Huracan or Recon or any of the local conventions. They were there every time we're running the game. They signed up and played and gave us uh, a lot of feedback on it. So a couple of stores who've helped us out quite a bit.
Give them shout outs. We love supporting our LGSs.
Yeah, I'd say Alan with Discover Games in Atlanta has done a really nice job in supporting us, and also just from a retailer perspective as well, just bouncing questions off of him, like as a retailer, how would you like to see this package, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
As well as those guys have really supported us with the game. Bearded Browncoat in Ocala. Uh, there's a couple of guys down there that have really picked up on the game and are bouncing ideas off of us. And uh, Gator Games, Mike Baker with Gator Games has helped out quite a bit as well. So those are probably the three local retailers that are helping us out the most. Um, and we do want to expand that footprint, but we're trying to stay within a local area first, and then kind of moving out from there.
To be honest, that's a pretty good footprint.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
it's
think it's pretty good. I mean, I think it helps going to like Historicon, because that's a pretty decent drive from us. Um,
well,
we're
we're
kind
gonna
of up in the
play.
air whether or not we want to get a booth at Adepticon next. We're trying to get a booth at Adepticon next year. That's a big outlay. Um, but then it's
Well,
it's trying to get some support on the other coasts as well. The Midwest and West Coast, just trying to see what we can find out there as far as help.
well, when we get off this, we can strategize, and I'll send you a ton of contacts I have because just one of that, it's like what's the game called? I don't usually have to explain it after that,
Yeah.
and which is kind of cool. It's like, has anybody at a trailer park actually been upset by this? Because people do live in those things.
No, I don't think so. And I grew up in one, so I spent.
Okay.
I think I probably spent. I mean, I was young. I probably spent 4 or 5 years living in a trailer park, and I lived in a trailer until my early to mid 20s. So, um,
We
you know,
didn't
it,
have
it
that much in New York City where I grew
yeah,
up, but I
yeah, they're
know
kind
the
of a
feeling.
staple around here. So we haven't had anyone take offense to it, and I kind of, one thing I often say before I run these games is, hey, I grew up in a trailer and I grew up in trailer parks, and a lot of that is reflected in what we see. And like you said earlier, you mentioned tropes. That's kind of what it is. There's some cliches, some
Yeah.
tropes in there. Um, but it's also like, you don't have to use trailers in your game. Like, one thing we mentioned when we were
It
talking
plays
about
better.
this. Yeah, I mean, they're nice terrain, and
Yeah.
I mean, they look nice. But we have one board that we're going to be putting up pretty soon. That it's a 6x4 1980s mall. So you're playing inside of a mall. So you're gonna have all those 80s stores that you're familiar with when we used to actually, when malls were really a thing.
All right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. What's stores? Because I have a feeling we're around the same age, probably old as hell. But uh, what's Spencer's?
yeah, Spencer's, KB, the
I
Gap,
remember KB.
Woolworths. Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of them. We have another one which we're going to be planning at some point, which will be sort of like it's going to play up on Westworld, so it's going to be like a Western map, but like it's going to have the whole abandoned amusement park Western theme, but it's going to be populated by androids who just kind of fitting in line with the movie, right? We just want to kind of kill everybody. Uh, you know, at some point we want to do Magic Kingdom, Disney's Magic Kingdom, just Main Street. So now you're battling it out on Main Street. So the trailers are great. Trailers are nice, though. We don't want those, like, if somebody doesn't have any and they want to play the game, we don't want them to think like you have to have trailers. If just put whatever train you have out there and just start playing.
Yeah. The mall thing, really. You're gonna put a record store in there, right?
Yeah. Camelot's in there, and
Camelot.
yeah, there's another one too. I can't remember the name offhand, but I think we have 2 music stores in the mall.
You got to put like an Orange Julius. You didn't know. I think it's
Yep,
still
Orange
around.
Julius is in there. We have now Orange Julius is by itself, and then we actually have the food court, right? So we had some other stuff, but Orange Julius, if at least the mall I went to, the Orange Julius was not in the food court. It was just like a storage like anything else. So that's kind of how we have it sitting up on our table.
Hmm. Any thoughts about putting, since you're playing, leaning into the tropes, um, putting in disguise, of course, characters from movies back then?
We have talked about it, and there's some other popular trailer park franchises that we've had people say, "Hey, can you make characters that resemble these guys?" And that's just it's like it would be really nice. I'm just worried about
Getting sued.
blow. Yeah, yeah.
I,
Um, but then you
hey,
also
you're
look
gonna
at
take
well,
on
the miniature
Disney.
company.
I mean, come on.
Yes, there's other miniature companies that put out miniatures that look just like a lot of the '80s action stars, right? You'll see
Yeah,
Sylvester Stallone, you'll see Arnold Schwarzenegger, so you'll see all these guys, and you'll see the miniatures like that's who that is. You know, um,
because you
it's just
probably know Forrest Harris that does Knuckle Duster, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and I love Forrest. We've had him on the show a couple times. He's like, I changed the name. We're all good. Um, because I have a feeling anybody that's Canadian asks you to do Trailer Park Boys.
yes, yeah. That's when I was getting to. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
which
the one that we've had many requests for that.
do you know that show has a world record?
Oh, does it?
Yes, the most f bombs ever dropped in a show.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you watch it.
Yeah.
It is, and I'll drop lines from it all the time. But like, yeah, I think by the time they got to season 5, it was 10,000 times.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm trying to think, I don't know if I used it that much in my life,
Yeah,
because
and so
'cause
it would definitely be nice to have some of those miniatures in the game, and we just have some reservations about um, because I guess there's some truth to it. As long as you kind of rename them, you're not using you're not infringing on the trademark,
right,
though that still isn't going to stop a company from trying
yeah.
to sue you. Yeah.
But they're
Uh,
Canadians. They're supposed to be really nice. So look, any guys from Trailer Park Boys that are listening, or a lawyer, you know how to reach us here at the podcast. So yeah, I mean the game doesn't need it, but I was just because it was until I finished playing the last game and I realized, wait, Trailer Park Boys.
yeah.
The thing is, that's contemporary. This takes place way out in the future after nuclear devastation. So
I have
yeah,
a feeling, but I have a feeling they would all survive whatever happened, and
oh
would
yeah,
still be,
yeah,
you know, eating their cheeseburgers and drinking their beer. So,
yeah. Like you
yeah.
can bubbles could be balloons. Um,
Yeah.
I got a million of them, folks. And it's you could you have to have Patrick Swayze in the game because Patrick Swayze sued them.
Oh, did he?
He did because it was the guy. I don't know if you watched the show, but a lot of Canadians listen to this podcast. I don't know why. Oh wait, because we have a bunch of Canadians on the website. Um, that yeah, this guy that was this. There's a whole thing throughout the series, and it's Dirty Dancing is I think Julian's favorite movie,
Okay.
and so this big train guy was named Patrick, and they had to rename. They didn't rename it; they just spelled it differently. But I'm like, didn't he die?
Yeah.
around this time, and I'm like, but his family. I go,
Yeah, they're still in
Pat-
a state that controls it.
yeah, and I'm like thinking, if Patrick Swayze actually watched, he probably Rush was on the show, for crying out loud. So I mean, it's all good, but
We
Michael,
actually did reach out to
yeah,
the people who control like the copyright and trademark twice, and we never heard back from them. We did make an attempt
to the Trailer
because
Park Boys.
we actually did make an attempt, but we never heard back.
Ah.
So
All right. So anybody out there in listening land, if you know any of these guys, have them give us a call. And because there was this guy, like I get gamers calling me up out of blue, thinking of designing a game based on, and I go, "Do you have a good lawyer?" No, you're gonna get sued.
yeah,
And it was to do a game based on Trailer Park Boys, and I'm like, I would say the mechanics are good for this. I get it. However, nobody that hasn't watched the show will understand any of this
right.
and the way the mechanics flow. Plus, they're going to sue your ass off. And I'm like, nah, they seem like good guys. I go, they don't really exist. Those are characters on TV. So,
Yeah,
yeah, but it's, look, and I'm not giving a plug for Trailer Park Boys, but it's different. It's interesting. And, yeah, yeah. But look, anybody that's Canadian seems to like that show. So, it's don't get sued. That's my only thing. But hey, I really want to thank you. One, sending the starter kit. I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it. I'm gonna expand the hell out of this game. So you've earned a loyal customer without doubt. I think if you're out there and you're listening and you're catching the vibe that this conversation had, um, people know, he's not that excited about anything. So check this game out. Even if you pick it up, get the starter kit. In my opinion, you're going to go back to it. And even when I let folks at work read the rules, because they're big gamers, um, everybody goes, "Tell me when you can bring this in so we could play it." I never had anybody say it's not my thing, and I think that is matter of fact. I told folks I'm talking to the trailer park guy today, and oh yeah, right away. You're gonna bring that in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I'll bring it in the next few weeks because the book sat around the office and people were reading it because I'm like, hey, does this read clear to you? I'll have other people look at it and they're like, yeah, I want to play this. And then could you bring everything in? So it just was the book. And then I brought the whole box in and I go, this looks pretty cool. And, it's like, is this all the models you need? Yeah, that's about it. Do they have more models? Yes, they do. So hopefully you'll start seeing some customers from 703. That's what we call the Nova. And yeah, and but I want to thank you. I'm sorry it took so long. You said that you just had a child graduate from high school, right? Or was it college?
just graduated high school, and we actually have her you know uh, college orienteering or not orienteering orientation this weekend. So,
Oh, really? Where's she going?
University of Florida.
So hometown.
Yeah, it's not far, thankfully. It's only about because she wanted to go to she wanted to go to Georgia, where she was accepted at Georgia, which
You
I'm a
you
Georgia
can't let
fan, so
that
I would have
happen.
loved that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Um, but it's also a lot further. So um, you know,
I've been to
Gainesville's only
Athens.
yeah. So Gainesville's only an hour and 20 minute down the road. It's very easy to drive. It's a nice campus, nice place.
My brother went there.
Oh, okay,
I never
very nice.
visit. I mean, I've been to the campus, but I never went when he was there. But yeah, it's a fun campus. I know a bunch of Gators, and I do know this one annoying Georgia Bulldog. And my cousin went to Tech, so yeah. But I played them in the NCAA video game. They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
But where can I find this game if I'm listening?
Yeah, so our website, badgoblingames.com, is probably the uh, easiest place. So we are in a couple of stores. If they happen to be like in Ocala, you can check out Bearder Browncoat, Gator Games. Uh, it's an online store. He sells it, and Discover Games in Atlanta sells it as well. We will be, I'm not sure as far as timing here, though we will have a booth at the Southern Fried Gaming Expo in a couple weeks, and we'll be at Historicon next month
Yeah.
as well. So um, any of
I,
those
I
places. So
well, I'm definitely gonna take you out for dinner at Historicon. Hopefully, I'm there long enough. But I want to thank you, and once again, this game really to me is it's kind of it is a hit, at least in this family. Well, just me. Nobody I live with plays games. My 18-year-old son yelled at me the other day. I know nothing about gaming. I mean, really, really, because I don't play your stupid games. But yeah. And then look, hey, as you guys expand the game, come back on.
yeah, and we'll get you some access to the future rules we have coming out and see
Yeah,
what you think about them. Says more eyes, the better, always. So
that's what they say. The eyes have it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm going to turn it back to Sean in the studio. As you know, we usually wrap up for another 5 minutes after where we talk about you. Yes, you. And once again, thanks, Bad Goblin Games, man. Check it out. Um, I'm going to give it another plug. I'm going to give this the Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. It's a mouthful, but look, if you hate it, I'll buy it back from you. Back to Sean.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory, and keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.